Hello and welcome to the United Stand. It's our Manchester United versus Brighton preview, but as usual there's lots more to talk about than just that. Pogba versus Mourinho has kicked off again today, with both of them saying very similar things but totally opposites about structures and happiness. We'll also be talking about I want to just say this right now. We play Brighton on Saturday. Some people think it's a foregone conclusion. I don't necessarily think it is when you look at their recent form. They're 13th in the league. They've got 26 points. They only lost 1-0 to Liverpool away last week. They've drawn with Arsenal recently. They've drawn with West Ham. I think they lost to Bournemouth. They only got beat 2-1 by Chelsea. They don't get stuffed by the teams at the top. Like I say, Liverpool 1-0, drew with Arsenal, only lost by 1 goal to Chelsea. But we've got a massive game in the FA Cup coming up next week. If we can beat Brighton by 3 or 4 goals, I think we will leapfrog Arsenal, even if they beat Chelsea. They've got a 2-goal difference, better goal difference than us at the moment. So if they beat Chelsea by 1 goal and we beat Bournemouth by 4, we will leapfrog them by goal difference. So I want that. I want to go to the Emirates next week above them in the league, and that should be the motivation of Manchester United. And some people can say, well, that's a small motivation, but we can actually be 5th on Saturday, and I think we should be going to score goals against Brighton, but it won't be very easy because they don't concede too many goals, and that I'll be honest about that, they don't. But that is a motivation, I really do believe. But let's get into this. That's my predicted lineup on the left. We'll do that in a minute. But let's talk about Pogba versus Mourinho, because Mourinho is now a pundit for beIN Sports, but he has. As we understand, he is not allowed to talk about the club because he will lose his £15 million payoff. Well, I tell you what, I don't know whether the club should be doing for breach of contract, because his hypothetical conversation today stunk a lot of Manchester United situation. Paul Pogba's come out as well and said that, when I'm happy I play good football, the structure's right at the club now. Obviously very, very positive about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Mourinho's come out and said that, basically what Mourinho has said is that there's no structure. He hasn't directly said it about Manchester United because you can't do that. But But what I would say is that he has put himself in this sort of position where we are. For a moment there, I didn't think I was live because somebody in the live comments was going, "Is Mark still doing his hair?" I am bloody live. I didn't know whether I was or not. So that's good news. So what Mourinho has basically said is that a football club needs to be run well organised with a structure, and he says that in the modern game you can't have a manager who is dealing with players and in a disciplinary way, and he said a manager shouldn't have to be dealing with players who don't act professionally. I mean, this all to me sounds like he's talking about Manchester United, which is, we're not meant to be getting Mourinho's side, but we clearly are. He spoke about people being unprofessional, but obviously none of this is directly at Manchester United. He's speaking hypothetically, but what he did say is that in the modern game, you can't have a manager now who is authoritarian as well as the manager. You should have a structure within a club with an owner or president, a chief executive, a director of football, and a manager, and that structure, and then the players. So that if a player is causing problems, it's not just the manager's problem, it's the director of football, it's the chief executive, it's the owners, and there's a tier. And very, very quickly, this is very important because I'm going somewhere with this, but you've probably worked in jobs or do work in jobs, I certainly did, where there was a hierarchy, and if the footballer has a go at you as the manager, you don't deal with it directly. You will speak to the people above you and get their backing to do whatever it is that you feel is fit. And I think Mourinho is right about that. And Mourinho also said about 4 or 5 months ago that at Manchester United you do everything. I'm in front of the press, I'm talking about transfers. At Chelsea it wasn't always like that. Look, I don't want to talk about Mourinho. I think we need to move on, and I don't really agree with Pogba being in the press and saying stuff about how it's great now and everyone's sort of digging Mourinho out, but it is great now. I don't blame him for that. But what I would say is that flip it the other way, because I think Mourinho, I'm so glad he's gone, but let's not pretend that. I think we all know what's happened here. Gary Neville sort of hinted at it as well, and Gary Neville certainly knows what's going on at Manchester United. That basically what happened with Mourinho is he got forced out by player power. He picked on the wrong players, and Ed Woodward, as has been leaked many times, valued people like Paul Pogba more than Mourinho. Now that's great because we got what we want. But what if next time, and it's not Pogba, it's maybe 5 years' time, Pogba's gone, obviously Mourinho's gone, we've got a manager we really like, but we get a player who's the star of the team, and they use that player power to go above the manager's head to Woodward, and Woodward goes, yeah, you're more important. In a hypothetical situation, I don't think Mourinho's wrong. I don't think he is. I think there is player power in most clubs now. And, the same thing might be about to happen with Ozil and Emery at Arsenal. And that isn't good. There should be a hierarchy, and the manager should always have the backing of the people above him. But, I think Mourinho's right, because you're right. You've said it yourself. The Manchester United as a football club is a mess. There isn't any structure, and he is right about that. But what he's wrong about is that's no excuse for why we messed up so badly and played shit football. It really isn't. Sergio Hernandez says, do you think Ollie will put a weakened team versus Brighton and focus on the FA Cup fixture? Absolutely not. And Mark G is in the house. He says, I agree with you, Mark. I think Mourinho is very close to violating his NDA, depending on how you look at it. That's what I thought anyway. Well, for me, he's 100% talking about Manchester United. When you start talking about structures, unprofessional players, he is talking about our club. And if we are paying him to be quiet, then we should be going after him. Sorry, you're meant to keep your gob shut. And it must be very difficult for him, but you've been paid very, very well for it. Ollie Rogers says, what do you think about Wan-Bissaka and Noam Amaran? So Noam Amaran is is 16 years of age from Amiens in French. I think I've probably pronounced all three of those words wrong. But he is 16. He's about to come to Manchester United. He models himself on Anthony Martial and Neymar, so he's an attacking player. And yet again, he's another 16-year-old that we're looking to bring into the club. And hopefully he'll be a star of the future. So that's very exciting. Wan-Bissaka is a good player, right back for Crystal Palace. He forced Fosu Mensah out when Fosu Mensah was on loan there last week. And I would say last season. And I would say that Wan-Bissaka is a very, very good right back. But it's interesting. You've just sort of took me off down an alley I didn't really want to go down. But I like your alley. It's well lit, it's safe, and it's it's got a nice comfy sofa. So let's dwell there for a moment and just say this. I don't get where everybody's going in on fullbacks. I was having a social media sort of, not argument, just a disagreement with Rants today because he was going in on Luke Shaw again. And I'm bored of it. Why are people going in on Luke Shaw? Why are people going in on the right-back situation? Have you totally forgot that we need a centre-back, a right midfielder, a CDM and a backup striker? And people are now attacking Luke Shaw and our right-backs. Again, it's this problem in all fan bases to go and find problems beyond problems. We've got 5, 6, probably 7 problems to solve before we start looking at left back and right back. And yet some people are going, let's get Wan-Bissaka, let's get rid of Luke Shaw, let's get Alexandra. And I'm like, Luke Shaw's only into month 5 of his run of being our first choice left back. Yes, there's room for development, but I really believe he can be good. And as for Dalot, he's only been here 5 months. He's hardly played at all, and I think he can be our right back. So I don't think fullbacks are a conversation we need to have at the moment when we've got centre back. Definitely needs resolving. CDM definitely needs resolving. Right midfielder definitely needs resolving. And up front, I think that's a problem as well. If Rashford gets injured, we're in trouble. The job was too big for Mourinho, says Ray Carl Amore. Just very quickly on that, there is strong rumours that Scott McTominay is going to go on loan to Celtic. Now, I don't know what you think about that, but apparently we will not. If McTominay goes on loan, we won't sell Fellaini. Or if Fellaini is sold, we won't let McTominay go on loan. And as I said this morning, this is like having 2 pairs of dirty pants and only putting one in the washing machine and putting the one back on. Surely you chuck them both in the washing machine, clean them, get a bit of money. One might come back better. I don't know. But I don't think we should. I just let them both go. I don't see either of them fitting in with the fast speed intensity football that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to play. As for McTominay going to Scotland, no, I don't think it's a good deal for us at all. Unless we're going to sell him just because he's Scottish. What does going to play for Celtic do for Scott McTominay's development? Stick him in the bloody Championship. Apparently he's a centre midfielder. Stick him in the Championship where it's game, 3 games a week, very, very physical, very, very high intensity. Stick him in there, sink or swim. I think he's a Preston North End player at best anyway. Send him to Preston North End. If he goes to Celtic, he'd just have a cigar on and we'll all be going, bring him back, he looks really good. It's absolutely the wrong path for Scott McTominay to go to. Because Celtic are basically like a men's team playing in an under-9s league. It is absolutely easy for them. And McTominay will find it very easy against poor opposition in a team that's way better. That's not what Scott McTominay needs. He needs challenging. So I don't think it's a good move for him at all. I think he should be going in the Championship, but that's my opinion. Anyway, let's talk about this Brighton game not very quickly, because it is the Brighton preview, but I like to delve into all sorts of other topics, and we've got a few to talk about as well. Now, very interestingly, Manchester United under-23s playing right now, I believe. They're playing in the Champions League sort of thing. They're playing PSV under 23s. But Tahith Chong, Angel Gomez and James Garner are not part of the squad for that. And they normally would be. So that makes you think, well, maybe they certainly are involved in the first team squad. Doesn't mean they're going to make the bench. Maybe one of them would do. Hopefully Tahith Chong, but that's quite interesting. But if you look at my team on the left, big shout out to Drawty for the amazing graphics we have on the United stand. I think we're a cut above the rest, really. Absolutely sensational. But that's my predicted lineup for this team. So obviously I think we're going to play the 4-3-3 with the holding midfielder being Matic. I think the back, going back to that previous question, will we rest players for the Arsenal game? I personally think, and I don't know what you lot think, I personally think that the Brighton game is more important to Ollie than the Arsenal game. The Arsenal game is important, but the FA Cup is, sadly, a very, very far distant second to Champions League football, because Champions League football is more important. And would you rather draw against Brighton and beat Arsenal, or beat Brighton and lose to Arsenal? There is the question. I'll answer it in a moment. But that's my predicted lineup. De Gea obviously in goal. Shaw and Young, I think, will be the fullbacks with Young as captain. Lindelof will obviously play. I've got a funny feeling Eric Bailly is going to play, because I don't think, as well as Jones done lately, there's a mistake in him, there's an injury in him, or he's not good enough. And I think we got away with it a little bit against Spurs. I thought he was really, really poor. Eric Bailly is good in the air and physical, and I think we need that foil for Lindelof. I don't think Lindelof and Jones make a very good centre-back pairing, because they're very similar in height and how they deal with the opposition. Eric Bailly is physical and Smalling's not fit, so I think Eric Bailly needs to play in this game. Obviously then you've got Matic, Herrera and Pogba, they pick themselves, and Martial, Rashford and Lingard, they pick themselves as well. Hopefully we'll see Sanchez on the bench. I think he needs to get on in that game. But the team is starting to take shape. It's got the formation. We know the front six take care of themselves, like I say, and I'm very, very happy with that. I'd be very unhappy if we saw Lukaku getting game time, or even Alexis Sanchez or Juan Mata. I don't dislike any of those players, but that front six, we need to keep using it, letting it get learning this new system from Ollie. But I do think Eric Bailly coming into the team is very important, because next week we play Arsenal. Aubameyang is another Harry Kane, another physical, tall striker, and I don't think Phil Jones and Lindelof can deal with that. So this is the perfect sort of rehearsal to get someone like Bailly in. If Smalling was fit, I'd probably play him. We do need that sort of physical thing. So going back to the question, I don't know whether everybody said it. Beat Brighton and lose to Arsenal, top four is more important, says Rob Vadina. And yeah, I would agree with that. I'd rather beat Brighton tomorrow and lose to Arsenal than draw to Brighton and beat Arsenal. I'd like to win the FA Cup. I think we can. I personally think we will win both games, but the Champions League is the top four has got to be what it's all about. The FA Cup's nice, but it's got to be all about that. Troy Francis says try Sanchez against Arsenal. Well, I think Sanchez has got to try and get a good half an hour against Brighton, and if he does well, then maybe he can knock on the door for the Arsenal game. But the thing is, the reason my front three is Lingard, Rashford and Martial at the moment. I really like it. And I'm really excited to see it at home against Brighton, because I think away from home for that first 45 minutes against Spurs, it was fantastic. So I'm looking forward to seeing that develop, the interchangeability between the three. But Alexis Sanchez needs to get game time, because at some point one of those three is going to get injured, and we need players to be able to come in and take over. My score prediction for this game, I think it will be probably quite tight, because Brighton don't concede many goals. I mean, Liverpool, like I said, wasn't it a penalty they got? 1-0 at home to Brighton. You'd think Liverpool are going to win that 5 or 6-0. So I'm going to go against the grain here and say it's not going to be tight, because I do think we'll be above Arsenal next week. So I think United are going to win 4-0. I really do. I think we've got to go and try, and this is the opportunity for us to start bumping up our goal difference. And there's nothing wrong with a bit of bump and grind, as I've said before. So let's get on. Somebody just said there they've got a feeling that Fred might start. Fred, Pereira, could you see them starting in a game like this? Probably not at the moment, because we've got weeks between games. We've got we're having a game, then a week off, a game, then a week off. Chris Smith says wrong attitude, we beat both. Chris, I did actually just say that. What I was saying is, in the hypothetical situation of, draw with Brighton and beat Arsenal, or beat Brighton and lose to Arsenal. If you can only choose one of those two, I'd rather we beat Brighton. But I agree. I think we will beat both, and I've certainly got that positive attitude. I think we're more than good enough to do it. If we can go to Spurs and win, we can go to the Emirates and win. But yeah, I'm going to go 4-0. I think United are going to win 4-0. And I think these are the games for us to do that. But Pereira and Fred, I don't think they'll play at the moment, but there are opportunities for them to get into the game. Like I say, we're playing one game a week at the moment, but I think at the end of January is when it kicks in. I think we play Burnley midweek, and it may be after the Arsenal game, and then obviously we're playing at the weekend, then the Champions League starting again, so we start to play games more frequently. And I think that may be when you start to see the wider squad use. Yaz says, I agree with some of what Jose said, but what's his excuse for parking the bus and playing hoofball away to relegation sides, and his fetish for Lukaku? Absolutely spot on, Yaz. Cannot disagree with you there. I do agree. Look, I think it's very easy. I don't deal in absolutes. I'm not a Sith Lord. I'm a Jedi. There's good and bad. And I was actually asked a question today, do you hate Mourinho? And I'm like, no, I really did like Mourinho up until his sacking at Chelsea, because that's when Mourinho lost it for me. But you can't argue with the fact that he was a fantastic manager. He was almost unbeatable for a few years. And he's not totally wrong in what he said. The structure at Manchester United is a mess. It was only 2 months ago, some United fans, quite a large proportion of our fans, were saying it's not Mourinho, it's the board. Now, while he's come in and done what he's done, people are like, oh, it's all Mourinho. It's not all Mourinho. The structure at Manchester United is a mess. And I agree, reading between the lines, what Mourinho is saying, as far as I'm concerned, is that he tried to be a disciplinarian with some of these players. They went above his head and he got undermined. Well, you can't have that. You can't have players jumping over the manager to go to the chief executive and say, I'm off, I don't like it here, and then the chief executive saying, I'll get rid of the manager and keep you. You can't have that. So that I agree with Mourinho there, but he should have got the sack for every reason I've said and you've said. What needs to happen at that club is they need to bring a director of football in, and there needs to be a hierarchy of structure whereby players go to the manager and then the manager goes to the director of football and they go to the chief executive. There can't be jumping over ranks, because then that's favouritism. If you think about it, if you work at Tesco and you're a store manager and you've got people working on the tills, and the person on the tills jumps over you to go to the store executive, not going to the store manager, you can't have a system like that. Even if the store manager's a piece of shit, you still got to go through the necessary ways of running a business, and that's what United need to do. Andrian Garcia says, what's your opinion on Adama Traore? 22 years old, played on the right side a lot of Middlesbrough, an absolute pace merchant. Front three of Martial, Rashford and Traore would make any defence craft themselves. I think Adama Traore is a very good player, but he's not set the world on fire at Wolves, so I wouldn't be looking at him at United at the moment. Soting TV, we can play our B team at the moment, players like Lukaku, Sanchez, Bay, etc., which is still stronger than Arsenal's A team in the FA Cup. Interesting. I think we'll play strong teams against Brighton and Arsenal, to be honest. And Sonny B says, hi Mark, I was the one who commented on the Mark Goldbridge show in regards to the foreign caller. After last night's show, I just want to say thank you for addressing it. It shows the great man that you are. Thanks, Sonny B. What a lovely message that is. But no, this community is a very good community and I want it to stay that way. Talking of which, please drop a like on the video. And Paul Robinson says that's what HR is for. Yeah, I don't know how HR, human resources, he's talking about. So in your job, you've probably heard of human resources. If you've got an issue with a staff member or anything like that, you go to HR. I don't know whether there's a HR equivalent in football. I'm sure they're not, because I think football's just very archaic in some of the things it does. Grant Walker says, you're so wrong about the Scottish League. Clearly haven't checked the league table. Assumption at best. Grant, I clearly have checked the Scottish League, and I'm aware that Celtic are not top of that league at the moment, but I will guarantee you all the money in the world that Celtic will be clear and top of that league by the end of it. They are streets ahead in that league. They've got a little bit lazy this season. Rangers are improving and it's slightly interesting. But the Championship would shit all over the Scottish Premier League easily and still have room to go and take on Premier League teams if they wanted to. The Scottish League is crap. Absolutely crap. I used to watch it quite a lot. It's crap. It is not where I want any youth player from Manchester United to go and learn their trade. It is a waste of time. Stick them in the Championship. Even better, get them in the Premier League, because it's more relevant to what we want them to become. That's my opinion. If you don't like it, bite it. But Don't tell me I don't know anything about Scottish Premier League. I'm a lot older than you think, and I'm fully aware of the Scottish Premier League. Going back to the days of Trevor Stephen, Gary Stephen, Mark Haitley, Ali McCoist, the lot. Gaza, that was a bit later. I'm fully aware of the Scottish Premier League, thank you. NT Luck says, do you realistically think top 4 is attainable with our current squad? Bearing in mind the fact we might not sign any centre-back this January, can Bailly step up? I'll come back to that in Luck. And John Joe Evans says, no Mason Greenwood tonight for the under-23s, possibly because of the Youth Cup on Monday. Kid looks special, looks too good for his age group. Yeah, he's not had a look in yet, John Joe, but I really hope that he does soon. And going back to that comment from NT Luck, thanks everybody who's made a contribution tonight. I did a video on That's Football today. About Higuain going to Chelsea. He will be a Chelsea player by the weekend. I predicted that. I told you get on him on Football Index. His price is going up as I predicted it would. And that to me, look, whether Higuain is a fat BTEC Morata, a waste of time or not, it doesn't matter. People getting lost in this. I got angry about this morning and people are like, we don't need Higuain. And people are just taking my frustration literally. What I'm saying is, what Chelsea have done is, they've looked at Morata, he's crap. He misses so many sitters. They'd have a lot more points if he didn't. They've gone into January. They've gone and pulled a player out of a club that doesn't want to sell him and brought him to the Premier League. Chelsea have gone and solved the problem aggressively. I talk about this all the time. Aggression in the transfer market to get what you want. Ruthlessness to get rid of the deadwood. That's what United need to do. What Chelsea have done, they've done both. They're getting rid of Morata, which is ruthless halfway through a season. They're being aggressive, going at a striker that their manager wants, who he's worked with before at Napoli. They're solving a problem. If you look at Chelsea, we'd all say they need a goal scorer desperately. They're going and doing that. If you look at Manchester United, we need a centre-back desperately. This is frustrating if we don't do it, because if Chelsea get a striker, they're 6 points ahead of us. And they're getting a striker. They're solving a problem 6 points ahead of us. If we don't get a centre-back, we're 6 points behind our target, and we're still going into the last few months of the season with our big weak spot. So, yeah, we can still get top 4, but we're making it slightly harder for ourselves and Ollie by not giving him the tools to do the job. We all know we need a centre-back. It's whether the club are going to be ruthless. And it goes back to what Mourinho's sort of indicating about structure as well, because the structure at United isn't very good and they need to work on that. Wilf Uchakoju says, what discipline problem, what dancing in the dressing room, all the problems seem to relate to Jose's poor treatment of certain players and favouritism for others. Wilf, look, I don't really want to get into all that. I don't really want to get into what Mourinho's talking about being unprofessional or anything like that. I don't know what he's on about. What I'm talking about is that Mourinho needed to be sacked, but I don't think he's wrong about the structure at Manchester United. And I don't think he's wrong that whatever the problem he was trying to solve, rightly or wrongly, he didn't get the support system above him from the hierarchy of the club. And that's never right in a hypothetical situation. Mourinho being sacked is 100% correct. Paul Pogba saying that we're happy now and this, that and the other is 100% correct. But what I'm saying is, if in 3 months' time Pogba suddenly doesn't like what Solskjaer likes and Solskjaer reprimands Pogba and Pogba goes over Solskjaer's head and Ed Woodward says you're off, Ollie, that can't keep happening. And I'm not saying Pogba is the problem. It could be Martial, it could be Matic, it could be whoever. But there is strong indications that from what Mourinho is saying and what people like Gary Neville have said, that there are issues where players are undermining managers, and you can't have that. You can't have that. That needs to be sorted out. That's why we need a director of football ASAP. Dean Cummings says McTominay is not good enough for Celtic. Hope he goes to the Championship. Nicholas P says, I started off worrying that the board would hire Ole based on sentiment. Now I'm worried that sentiment will mask his ability. There's something special about him. He's combined our past with our future. And there was a very, very good comment from Anthony Martial talking to Norwegian TV, I think, which we tweeted out off United Stand today, and he was basically saying a manager's got to be a disciplinarian, but there's also got to be approachable and make things fun as well. So Martial's basically saying that he's seen Solskjaer go in on players who deserve it. So very positives, lots of positives about what Solskjaer is doing. Hi Mark, are you uploading another podcast, says Keelan Hughes? Yeah, I do the podcast on my channel, Mark Goldbridge, and it'll be live at midday tomorrow if you want to join me for that. It's not about football. It's about the Gillette adverts. It's about ageism. It's about lots of things, but not football. So if you like that sort of thing, that's my channel, midday tomorrow. We've had a comment from Ned Flanders as well. Looks like Chelsea are buying a centre midfielder as well. Fair play. Well, this is it, Ned. This is it, everybody. Chelsea are going and solving problems aggressively, and they're above us. And I just feel that United are sitting back and going, yeah, it's all right. I mean, Ollie is... What's Ollie supposed to do? Oh, I want this, I want that. He's here for 6 months. Now, many of us want him to be here longer if he continues. But what if he has a terrible February? He's gone in May. So Ollie can't sit here now going, look at the great job I've done. Go and spend some bloody money, Woodward. Spend me 100 million. He's got no grounds to say anything other than I'm really happy with the squad I'm working with, because he's a short-term manager on a holiday of a lifetime. So Solskjaer's got no power. He's got no say to go and say, get me a centre-back, because he's got no security blanket of a 2 or 3 year contract. So he can't say anything other than I'm happy with the squad. It's all on Woodward. Is he going to spend money? Has he got the brain to understand that if he doesn't spend 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 million on a centre-back, we may miss out on top 4? Or is he stupid enough to think, oh, I'll get by with Phil Jones? You know, that's the thing. You should be looking at Chelsea and going, they're the target for us to chase for top 4, and they're going out improving areas in January, while I sit here counting my bloody online banking. You know, it is important. James Kuma says, talk about Deadwood FC. Oh, I don't want to depress everyone, mate. I don't want to... Look, we will definitely get rid of players in the next couple of weeks. Whether it's McTominay on loan or whether it's Fellaini being sold, we will definitely get rid of players. What else did I want to talk to you about in case I missed something? Arsenal and Mourinho and Pogba. When you're happy, you're free. That was a quote from Paul Pogba for you. And everybody is happy at the moment. We're happy. The players are happy. There's a positivity around the club, which is a joy to witness. And we want to keep that going. And we really need to sort of... I think it was interesting because Mourinho spoke for the first time, but we need to park it really, because I'm not really interested in his excuses, because like the previous commenter said, who forced him to play Lukaku up front? Who forced him to treat Martial and Lingard and Pogba and Fred and Pereira and Mata and Sanchez like defenders? Who told him to do all those things? Who told him to be pragmatic? Who told him to make the team lazy? Ollie's been here for a few weeks and totally flipped around the way we play football, and it works. So Mourinho has lost his job for his own faults. So I think 90% of what he talks about is a total load of crap. But I cannot and will not in my life, just because I dislike somebody, ignore some of the parts that actually make sense. Because I dislike people, but sometimes they'll say something like, I love Anthony Martial, and I'll go, well, so do I. You know, and I do agree with Mourinho about the structure of Manchester United. Although he's not talking about Manchester United because he's not allowed to, he's talking hypothetically, but he is talking about Manchester United in my mind, because the structure at Manchester United does need to change. You can't say the board's crap 3 months ago and then just because Mourinho gets sacked, the board's the best thing ever. The board's not spent any money this January, and it needs to. The board needs a director of football, because you can't have somebody undermining the manager on transfers. You need somebody proper in there. Steve Y, there's no point buying players that are ready now, Koulibaly, and then be sat waiting for other players to develop into their positions. Delot, it's one of the other. Build for the future or for now. That is a very interesting point by Steve. A very interesting point. You're right. Because as I said about the fullback situations, you look at the fullbacks there. Luke Shaw is our left back. I'm very frustrated by people who are going in on Luke Shaw at the moment, including Rance, who I love Rance, but I don't get why people are going in on Luke Shaw. You can have an opinion that he's not good enough, but he isn't playing like Fellaini week in, week out. All right, his crossing's not been that great, and he was a bit out of position against Spurs, but I haven't seen anything of... I haven't seen Luke Shaw playing trailer trash football for 10 games. I've seen... And people are saying he's slow. He's very, very fast. Very fast. And I think I really do, and it's obviously only my opinion, I really do. There's a real lack of patience with Luke Shaw, and I also think there's a bit of a myth about Luke Shaw. Probably started by Mourinho, to be fair. All this fat, lazy crap, which is a load of nonsense. It's body fascism, and I think he's doing a good job. He's only 5 months in to being our first choice left back. He's still only just 23. I think he can be our left back for the next few years, and I really hope he is. I do like Luke Shaw, and I think the same of Delot. I think Delot needs time to develop, and so does Luke Shaw. People aren't in their prime till they're 25, 26. That's 2-3 years away for Luke Shaw. I think keep playing him. I really like him, and I really like Delo as well. And I wouldn't be looking at fullbacks myself. Jose's talking about structure is hypocritical because he fought against the director of football when he lumbered with him. I don't know what that last bit means. But yeah, well, the rumours were that Jose didn't want a director of football. But if you listen to him today, he says that every club does need a director of football. So who do you believe? Sure is not very good, Mark. You know nothing about football. It's hilarious, says Josh Lee. You know when you read a twat's comment? Yeah, I don't know anything about football, mate. I've only been doing this for 4 years, talking everything transfers, tactics, match reactions, everything. But I don't really know anything about it. How many players do you have on a pitch then? And what are the rules? Like if one team scores a goal, do you need to score 3? And how many points do you get for a goal going in the net? I don't know. I'm lost. I really am. 30 million to 40 million for Koulibaly or Skriniar. Oh, Lukaku plus 30 million or 40 million for Koulibaly or Skriniar. Well, that would be very nice, AK. I don't think it's going to happen. Andrew Ellis, back of the net. He says the fraud Jose Mourinho can honestly do one. And Luke Shaw would blow many left-backs in the league, probably fastest in the league, says Emily Taylor. Yeah, I don't know where people get off on this. I mean, all right, I've seen Luke Shaw not playing absolutely brilliantly recently, but I agree with Paul Robinson. Bad games for sure, just bad moments. He'll come good. And he's lightning fast. I really do believe all this crap that was going on about him being fat and lazy. I think a lot of people get these things stuck in their head like it's factual. And he's very, very fast. Very fast. I've seen him like tracking back at left back and he's lightning. And let's not forget, when you're a left back, you play against very fast players as well. So he isn't slow. Gordon Murray, I wish we'd read this earlier. He says, I read that we owe 258 million in transfer fees. Yeah, I saw that yesterday. I meant to mention it on Transfer Daily this morning. That could be true. It might not be true. But what the story was is that United aren't signing players because we owe 258 million pound in transfer fees. And the way that's worked is that we are surprised nobody's come out with a joke. Actually, Luke Shaw only runs fast because he thinks he's going to get the last pizza. I'm surprised nobody's put that in there because that's the sort of nonsense you'd normally get from the people who go on about his weight, which is ridiculous. But Umar Patel says Shaw is quality. Yeah, but the way that transfers work is that if we signed Paul Pogba for 89 million 3 years ago, you don't necessarily pay the 89 million pounds straight away. It can be paid over a number of years. And if that's what United do, which we probably do because we're a business, and a business will not pay the money up front because if you pay it over a few years, you can be earning interest on those payments that you're going to make. And that's what United's all about, debt and interest. That might be something in that. United Focus says Chelsea would be near the title if they'd had a striker and a right winger. I think they would have another 7 or 8 points. I mean, they're not good enough to win the title, Chelsea. I think Man City and Liverpool deserve it, but Chelsea would be out of our reach. Dean Cummings says, are we getting any Football Manager streams? We are, Dean. That will be on That's Football or my channel, but I haven't played it for 2 weeks, so I do want to do it. I do like the game, I just haven't played it for a while. And Chewy says, clubs pay 50% up front, then the rest over the contract. Yeah, it can be like that, but it's not always like that. Some people pay the whole transfer fee up front. Some people will do it in less than 50% in like yearly payments, 6 monthly payments. You know, everybody's different. Lando, there we go. He's only running fast to get the last donut. It's not as good as the one that I predicted somebody would do, but there you go. Anyway, let's go back to the Brighton game because it is the Brighton preview. Please do drop a like on the video, everybody. Let's see if we can get 1,000 likes while we're live. And also, if you have a look at the subscriber count at the top, 350,000 subscribers is quite a significant number for us. And we're only, quick maths, 2 plus 2 is 4. That's quick maths. 77 away. So if you've not subscribed to the channel yet, what the hell are you doing? Click that subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you've got your bell on for when we do go live, which hopefully in the next 2 weeks we might have a live Koulibaly signs for Manchester United in a straight swap with Lukaku and McTominay and Fellaini. Yeah, man, let's have it. But no, do subscribe if you're new. And I just want to say as well, there's no Transfer Daily at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Now, there's a reason for that, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is doing his press conference. It could be at 8 a.m, it could be half 8, but we're told it's at 9 a.m. So there's no point in me doing a video at 7 a.m. and then doing one within an hour afterwards. So we will be live in the morning. It will just be a little bit later, and we'll combine Transfer Daily with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference reaction, which I think is going to be very good because they're clearly going to ask him about Mourinho, Pogba, all these comments, and there's a lot. And I think there'll be something about the transfers as well around Fellaini and McTominay. So that'll be good. That'll be really, really good. But yeah, back to the Brighton game. Don't underestimate Brighton, right? They're 13th in the league. They're about 8 points, 6 points, 8 points clear of relegation. And they did beat us 3-1. And most importantly of all, let's not forget, I said this, for everybody's love for Pogba, Paul Pogba played his worst game in a Manchester United shirt against Brighton last August. It was absolutely terrible. So I'm hoping we're going to see a total contrast because we need to see consistency from Pogba now, and I think we will. And he'll absolutely smash it on Saturday. And I think, we need to win 3-4-0, I think. Let's try and get into 5th place. Let's get our goal difference better than Arsenal. Of course, if Arsenal lose or draw, we'll go over them anyway. But I think they might. I want Arsenal to beat Chelsea at the weekend. I don't know about you, because Chelsea are further ahead of us than Arsenal. I'd like to see Chelsea dropping some points. So I actually want Arsenal to win. Scrape a 1-0. We win 4-0 and we'll go above Arsenal anyway. So, yeah. But Brighton only lost 1-0 to Liverpool last week. They drew with West Ham. They beat Everton. They drew with Arsenal. And then they beat with Bournemouth. So the last 5 games, loss, draw, win, draw, loss. And they don't concede many goals. So they're going to be a tough game. And I think everybody is going 4-3 and 3-2. It could happen. It's not really how Brighton roll. It's not really how Brighton rock. I've got it wrong again. So, yeah, it could be a very tight game, but I'm going to go 4-0 United. I'm going to go United 4-0. Definitely. I'm really looking forward to it as well. I'm really looking forward. We're all looking forward to watching United now, but I'm really looking forward to this game at the weekend. Then the build-up for the Arsenal game. Can't wait for that. The FA Cup has got some magic when it's a big game. And then we're into Burnley, Leicester, Fulham, PSG. It's so much to be excited about. But also, we've got the next 2 weeks in the transfer window where I think there's going to be some things done. Mike Hill says the most important signing we can make in my mind is David De Gea signing a new contract. I really am confident, Mike, that De Gea is going to sign a new contract. I'm not so confident about Martial. I'm hoping he will, but I'm not so confident. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. I will be live with you tomorrow morning for the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer press conference reaction. I think it's at 9 a.m, but if it's at 8 a.m, we'll be live. I'll get the stream up for you at about 7:30 anyway, so you can have your early squad legends. I'm going to call you the United Stand legends if you get early on the live comments. The legends. So, yeah, we'll open up that early for you. And I'll be back tomorrow night with Friday Night Live, which is very interactive and laid back, and beers do flow in that. So, yeah, weekend's nearly here. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Really enjoyed the show. Please smash a like on the video. I hope you're liking the new graphics. And, yeah, on we roll. On we roll. Thanks for watching.